Whoa, face cam is not where it's supposed to be. Let's edit that real quick. What is up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel for the second time today. There we go, that's a little better. I say the second time today because I just did this stream and the audio cut out literally at various points as I kept switching slides. So we're doing this again. If you have noties turned on and you're seeing that I'm streaming this all over again, you're not tripping. I'm just doing it again. That way you can hear me talk when I switch to slides at certain points in this stream. Today we're going to be talking about season predictions, records, over-unders on passing yards, touchdowns. Will any Cowboys win any awards like MVP, Defensive Rookie of the Year? How is the defense going to perform this season? Any better than last year? We'll talk about it. Before we do, though, I would just like to point out that about 90% of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if that is you, do me a favor, hit that big red subscribe button. Make it say subscribed. If it says subscribe, like I said, tap the noti bell next to it to get notified anytime I upload or go live. Drop a like on the stream video, however you're watching this. If you're here live, come hang out in my chat. If you're watching this back after it's ended, leave a comment down below your opinions on everything we're going over in today's video. Before we start dissecting, I would just like to point out that Tuesday next week, I will have a preview stream going over the Cowboys season opener against the Buccaneers with Elliot. Maybe Alec will hop in there at some point, not sure. But for sure, me and Elliot are going to be covering that game, going over the keys to the game, things to look out for. So make sure you guys tune in on Tuesday. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. Big question here. What will the Cowboys record be in 2020? Now, I've got them at 9-8. I can see the argument for a double-digit win season. But I just, with this defense where it's at, I don't think that's realistic. Let's go ahead and go down the list of games the Cowboys have this year and tally win and loss. Thursday Night Football against the Buccaneers coming up in less than a week. That's a loss. Cowboys, they shocked the world. Cool. But these are the defending Super Bowl champions. Dak Prescott hasn't played a game in over a year. This defense is young and experienced. Didn't play well last year. It'll be a shootout. It might be close. I'll give you that. But Cowboys are they're taking the L on Thursday. Chargers week 2 in Los Angeles, another loss. Still, I think the Cowboys need some time to kind of find themselves. It's a good team, a very talented team, but against the Chargers, one that's established, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler's returning from injury. I got the Chargers in that one. Cowboys start 0-2. At home, Monday Night Football against Philly. That's an easy W. Philadelphia is not good. The Cowboys are clearly better. Plus, it's a primetime game, and it's a home game. The Panthers the following week at home, part of a 3-week home stretch. That's another win. Cowboys clearly have the better roster. And then to wrap up the homestand, or the home stretch, I should say, the Giants. That's another dub. Daniel Jones is not winning a game over Dak Prescott. Following that 3-week home stretch, you got the Patriots for an away game. That's going to be an L for sure. Mike McCarthy is not a better head coach than Bill Belichick. He's going to get out-coached in that game, period. Debate a wall. Maybe the Cowboys have a more talented roster than the New England Patriots, but I don't know, man. I just don't see a scenario where Mike McCarthy out-coaches Bill Belichick on the road, so I've got that one chalked up as a loss. Sunday Night Football, Halloween, October 31st. I will hopefully be at this game against the Minnesota Vikings, also an away game. I've got that one as a win. We all know Kirk Cousins in primetime games isn't the best. I've got that one as a win. I understand it's an away game, but again, it's primetime. Dak Prescott, primetime. He loves the spotlight. He's great in the spotlight. Kirk Cousins is not, so that's a win. Cowboys return home following their 2-week away stretch for a 2-week home stretch against the Broncos and Falcons. I got both those games as wins. I could see the Broncos game being close with how good their defense is. That one might be a real tough one to pull out, but I think ultimately because it's a home game, the Cowboys will get a W there, and then the Falcons are just their defense is horrendous. The Cowboys will eat up that pass D, I should say. It's going to be an ugly game. Probably a shootout if I had to guess, honestly. Definitely a shootout, actually. But the Cowboys will get the W. Away against the Chiefs. Do I need to really explain myself? This is an L. If I gave the Buccaneers the win next week, then this is easily a loss. I just don't see a scenario where, given some health concerns on the defense, you're about midway through the year, you walk into Arrowhead and snatch a W from Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, considering the state your defense is in. There's just no way the Cowboys walk out of here with a W unless there's a significant injury to the Chiefs on their offense. Cowboys return home the following week to play the Raiders. I believe that's a Thanksgiving game. One of the 3 Thanksgiving games that will take place this year, although I could be wrong. That's going to be a W. Cowboys just have the better team. Following that game, it's a 3-week road stretch starting with a Thursday night game in New Orleans. I've got the Saints in that one just because it's a home game for the New Orleans, and the Cowboys seemingly never play well in the Superdome. Sean Payton is also a really good head coach. I think he outcoaches Mike McCarthy in that one, so I've got the Saints. You also have to consider Michael Thomas should be back at that point. Washington football team away immediately after. That's another loss. I've got the Cowboys splitting the series with Washington, so when they come to play the Cowboys after their win against New York following this game we're just talking about against Washington, they're gonna win that home game. Sunday Night Football, again, Dak Prescott, prime time, he loves the spotlight. Cowboys probably will split that series. The only way I see them not splitting is if they get swept, and I feel like that's a very real possibility considering Fitz magic. If he finds his magic at that point late in the season, I think it's going to be really tough for the Cowboys to win one of those games. The football team, they have the better roster. They don't have the better quarterback, though. They really need to find their quarterback if they want to be a competing team, because they've got, like I said, a really, really good roster, really talented and young, so they have time. But you don't want to ride out with interchangeable quarterbacks year after year if you're the football team. Ultimately, I think the Cowboys have this division, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like I said, Fitzpatrick finds his Fitz magic towards the later end of the year. Following that home game against Washington, and I believe I did mention the away game sandwiched in between there against the Giants as a W. If I didn't, I apologize, but I think I did. Following that Sunday night game against Washington at home, another home matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, I got that one as a loss. A lot of OU fans will travel down. It'll feel like a home game, probably for Kyler Murray, plus it's late in the year. Kyler Murray just destroyed the Cowboys defense in 2020, and it's going to be really hard to stop him, I think. So I've got the Cardinals in that one. And then away against the Eagles to complete the sweep, I've got a win. Now that all adds up, if you do the math, to 10-7. And my prediction was 9-8. There's going to be an upset in here somewhere. I'm looking at maybe the Vikings game, maybe the Raiders, Broncos. Pick your poison. There will be an upset, despite the fact that tallies up to 10-7. One of those wins is going to be a loss because you can always bet on a good team getting upsetted by a bad team. So, yeah, I will leave it at that. Let's go and talk about the offense. Best offense in the NFL. Yes. Last year, just to kind of set the tone, the Green Bay Packers had the highest points per game with 31.8. The Kansas City Chiefs had the highest yards per game average at 415.8. Cowboys, with the state their defense is in, I should say, are going to be playing from behind for the majority of the time. So there's no doubt in my mind they potentially take over both those statistical categories with the weapons on offense. 3 potential 1,000-yard receivers, Ezekiel Elliott, some very comfortable tight ends in Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz to have. I just don't see a scenario where the Cowboys don't have the most prolific offense in the NFL. Before Dak Prescott got hurt last year, he was showing signs that this offense is the truth and has the potential to be the very best in the NFL. So, provided everyone's healthy, and I think the key to being the best offense in the NFL is that offensive line staying healthy. So, provided that, or at least for the majority of the year, I think they've got that. They got that on lock. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. Over under 5,200 yards and 45 touchdowns. Definitely over 5,200 yards. Last year, he was on pace to shatter 5,200 yards, so I don't see a reason why, like I said, unless an injury was to occur, that he goes under 5,200 yards. Most definitely, he's got that by at least 200. 45 touchdowns. You guys also have to realize there is a 17th game this year. 45 touchdowns. I don't know. This is a tough one. We know this Cowboys offense to be a passing one, but once you get down to the red zone, I think they start to feed Zeke a lot more. So that's a tough one to answer. I'm going to say right at 45 touchdowns. With Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield, I don't see a reason for the Cowboys to need to pass inside the 10, which is where they're going to be a lot. So I'm going to say right at 45 touchdowns for Dak Prescott. Not listed here, but comeback player of the year, yes. MVP, that's a tough one to answer. The MVP of a team is typically on a team that has 12, 13 wins. I don't know if the Cowboys can necessarily achieve that. The MVP it's a weird award. Deshaun Watson probably should have won the MVP last year because he was the most valuable to the Texans. He led the league in passing yards with the supporting cast he had. Very, very difficult to achieve, but he didn't because the Texans were a bad team last year. Like I said, it's a weird award. For Dak Prescott to win it, I think the Cowboys probably need to win double-digit games and not just 10. I'm talking 11, 12, 13. I just don't see him beating out Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, potentially Tom Brady, maybe even Justin Herbert. Like I said, got to get into that double-digit area, talking 11 through 13 if Dak Prescott wants to be the MVP of the league this year. Ezekiel Elliott. Now, I might have set the bar kind of low here, 1,100 yards. I'm going to say over just because I did set it a little low. I probably should have gone a little higher, more like maybe 1,250. The thing with Zeke is, and you're looking at this from a fantasy perspective, or at least I'm looking at it from a fantasy perspective, don't draft him early because his workload towards the beginning of the year is going to screw you potentially out of a playoff spot. Mike McCarthy, and this isn't my opinion, this isn't what I think will happen. This is exactly what Mike McCarthy said. They're going to ramp up Zeke's workload towards the end of the year. So we're not going to be seeing much of Ezekiel Elliott. Well, we'll still be seeing him quite a bit, but not as much as you'd expect in these first, 7-8 weeks of the season. Tony Pollard is a really, really good running back. Very serviceable. He could be a starting running back for about a third of the teams in the league. And I think Cowboys fans, we don't really appreciate Tony Pollard as much as we should because there's no way come his contract year, unless the Cowboys pull a Dez on Ezekiel Elliott, that he still plays for the Cowboys. So, with that being said, I'm going to say over, but just barely, probably 1,200 yards. Like I said, production is going to get ramped up towards the end of the year. Ezekiel Elliott got a lot of mileage on him. You don't want to risk injury early on. You want to keep him fresh down the stretch and for the playoffs. Also considering, like I said, this is a passing offense with plenty of other weapons. There's really no reason to stick him out there in situations that he doesn't need to be hurt in. Not to say that he won't see the field the majority of the time. I think it's going to be split probably 60-40 Zeke's away. You just, like I said, won't see him out there as much as you might expect. Over under 4 fumbles. I'm going to say under, but just barely. I'm going to go with 3. He's going to be running behind a duct-taped offensive line just like last year. He's had ball security issues. He's getting older. The regression is there. Maybe not as serious as JAYLON Smith, who we'll talk about a little later, but 3 fumbles. That's still a lot for a guy that's getting paid the money he's getting paid, but I'll go with the under there. I'll say 3, just considering the line. We know at some point he's going to be running behind. Probably we'll have Ty Nsekhe, Connor McGovern. At no point will the Cowboys offensive line have Zach Martin, La'el Collins, Tyron Smith, all in for a consecutive period of 3 or 4 weeks. The receivers. All right, I have so many questions. I didn't even fit it all on the screen. You're looking at them right now. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. The big 3. This is the strength of the team. Are they all going to hit 1,000 yards? Absolutely. Michael Gallup probably has the least amount, but he is going to exceed that 1,000-yard mark. Obviously, they have to stay healthy in order to do so. What about 1,300 yards, though? That came out really weird. Are any of them going to exceed that? I think only one. And I know there's a 17th game. CeeDee Lamb has showed us a lot, but you have to take into consideration the target share. Ask me this question next year when Michael Gallup likely isn't on the Cowboys, and sure, I've got Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb both at over 1,300 yards, assuming there's still a 17th game on the schedule. But right now, over 1,300 yards, no. Amari Cooper will probably get close. CeeDee Lamb won't be far behind, but just considering, like I said, you have Michael Gallup, a third 1,000-yard receiver on your team, I don't think there is potential for there to be a plus 1,300-yard receiver. Like I said, ask me this question next year. My answer will be different. Does CeeDee Lamb overtake Amari Cooper at any point as the number one receiver? No. I know that opinion might vary with yours, but Amari Cooper is still a very deadly receiver. Cowboys fans often forget that. Behind the hype of CeeDee Lamb lurks Amari Cooper. The dude is one of the most lethal route runners in the league. I don't understand why people don't give him that respect. When we talk about route runners, we're always talking about Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and while they're great, Amari Cooper, he's up there. Now, all around, he's not like a top 3 wide receiver or anything, but the dude can shake DBs like receivers the receivers I've never seen before. Guys like Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, I've only seen highlights of. He's got the route running ability of some of the legends to play the sport of football. I don't know if you guys saw the clip on Twitter that was making its rounds the other day, but I think he was on, or Trayvon Diggs was on him. Stutter step to the left, turn back to the end zone on his right, and just completely broke. Like I said, I believe it was Trayvon Diggs. Could have been another DB, but Amari Cooper he's going to get 125 to 150 targets this year, provided he stays healthy. He got that offseason ankle surgery to kind of help keep him on the field. I think he is this team's number one receiver. He's a legit deep threat. With Dak Prescott, he is a problem. You also have to consider there are 3 big receivers on this team. In one-on-one coverage, as deadly as Amari Cooper's route running is, I've got him over anyone else on this team, just to chuck it up. I'm taking him. So yes, he is the number one receiver, and no, I don't think CeeDee Lamb overtakes him. However, I will say this, CeeDee Lamb will have a breakout year and probably be considered the 1B. Okay, I'm not ruling out CeeDee Lamb. I love CeeDee Lamb. He's my favorite player on the Cowboys. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the years to come. Ask me this question next year, maybe my answer is different. I don't know. But as of right now, Amari Cooper is this team's number one receiver, and provided he stays on the field, he stays healthy, it's going to stay that way. He might have some games every now and then where he doesn't show up, but for the most part, he is this team's number one. Final question for the receivers. Will any of the 3 lead the league in yards or touchdowns? Again, asking me this question next year when Michael Gallup is no longer on the team, I might have a different answer for you, but as of right now, no. There's just too many target shares to go around. Kind of talked about this when we were talking about the over 1,300 yards question. I don't see a scenario where either of these 3 lead the league in that respective category, just because there's so many targets, like I said, to go around. But again, ask me the question next year, answer might be a little different. And let me go back to that 1,300 yards question, because I'm thinking about it now. Maybe Amari Cooper does exceed 1,300 yards. I'm just talking about him as being a guy that's going to get 125 to 150 targets. Yeah, I'm gonna revisit that, change my answer. Yes, Amari Cooper exceeds the 1,300 yard mark, barely though, because like I said, target share. But to revisit that and change my answer, yes, Cowboys get 1 receiver with over 1,300, and it's going to be Amari Cooper. Let's talk about the offensive line. Tyron Smith and La'el Collins, who's not listed on this graphic, but we'll go ahead and include him in the conversation. Over or under 13 games. Now, surprisingly, I've got Tyron Smith right at 13 games. He's no longer wearing that neck brace as a result of the offseason surgery he had. I know he's getting older, but he's consistently been at 13 games his entire career. Maybe he misses 1, goes down to 12, but I've honestly got him at 13. He said himself he's going to try to play all 17. I don't think that's realistic. I think Tyron Smith surprises us a lot in terms of staying on the field. A lot of people don't really expect him to play even 10. I think that's a little far-fetched, but I think La'el Collins is the more injury-prone tackle at this point. I mean, he's already questionable for week 1. He didn't even play at all last year. So I've got him under 13 games. Tyron Smith, though, as odd as it sounds, he's getting older, and there's been a problem with that. I think he plays a lot more than we expect. So I've got Tyron Smith right at 13. I got La'el Collins under 13. We'll see how that turns out towards the midway point getting into the end of the year, because that's when it's really going to take a toll. The physicality of the sport on these two tackles, which are great, just have issues staying on the field. Let's flip it over now to the defense. Where does the defense rank this year among all other NFL defenses? Now, we all know Cowboys had a really rough go of things on this side of the ball last year. 31st in yards allowed on the ground. Secondary was not good. The linebackers were about as weak as ever. It got better, maybe not as better as you guys think, because primarily it was improved through the draft, and you can't really bet on rookies coming into the NFL first year to make an impact, other than Micah Parsons, of course. There were some good free agent signings. Malik Hooker, he won't start week 1, though. They're going to ease him into it. Keanu Neal, I think, is a great linebacker. He's going to do really well this year. He's going to earn himself a contract in free agency. DeMonte KZ, he's not returning to that 2018 version of himself. He looks more like the last year's version before he got hurt, but he's nevertheless an upgrade over Xavier Woods. So yes, it got better through free agency, it got better through the draft, but I still think this defense ranks anywhere from 16 to 21. And for the Cowboys to go deep in the playoffs, that's got to change. It's going to have to change through a trade. I don't think there's anyone in free agency that really ups that right now. You got to go out and get a corner, man, because this secondary is really weak, and I'll talk about that a little more as we start to wrap up the defense. We got to go through some other names real quick, but just to kind of foreshadow, the secondary is easily the weakest part of this defense, and you got to make a change if you want it to be significantly better. You got to go out and acquire a talent like an Xavier Howard. I know he's content where he's at after the contract restructure, I believe, but you got to go out and get someone like that. Stephon Gilmore, if he can return to how he was playing a few years ago, if you can go out and get Stephon Gilmore for a day 2 pick, like a third rounder or something at the deadline. I know it'll be risky because he's injured, and at that point he'll probably have played 1 or 2 games. But if you go out and get him and you get the return you expect, then yes, the Cowboys defense is probably as good as you think it is. But as of right now, just considering there's question marks, I've got him at that 16 to 21 range. And your opinion might vary, I understand, but I'm using last year as an example. We had Everson Griffin. I mean, the pass rush last year, after what we did in free agency, everyone thought it was going to be one of the best in the league, and it turned out to be one of the worst defensive lines in the league. So that's just something to consider. Staying on the pass rush, let's talk about this year. Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence. Now, I've got Randy Gregory double-digit sacks, 1,000%. Looking at him as kind of like that Robert Quinn of a few years ago, where he came in, had 11.5 sacks, made a huge impact. Randy Gregory is a monster out there. We haven't seen much of him in the preseason, but from the open practices that I've went to and some videos from training camp back in Oxnard, the dude looks like a legit threat off the edge. He's going to take double teams off DeMarcus Lawrence, which will probably increase his sack numbers from around 6 to 8. I don't think DeMarcus Lawrence exceeds that double-digit sack number just because he's more adapted himself as a run stopper off the edge, which is not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing. But I think you're going to start seeing teams double 94 instead of Tank Lawrence, because Randy Gregory is a real threat. They're going to realize that a few games into the season that he is a force to be reckoned with, and absolutely, I've got him at double-digit sacks. Originally, heading into camp, I had him at 8.5. After seeing his ability, what he can do, there is no doubt in my mind he's got at least 10 in the bag this year, provided he stays healthy. DeMarcus Lawrence talked about how Randy Gregory is going to take away from his double team. Like I said, that'll help. Sack numbers will probably go from around 6 to 8. And I mentioned how he's integrated his ability to stop the run, which is huge. My only issue with DeMarcus Lawrence is he's getting a little older. Just came off the physically unable to perform list a few weeks ago. Played through injury last year. Had a surgery in the offseason. That's why your depth at the pass rush position is huge. Terrell Basham, hopefully he can come back and prove that he belongs in the NFL because he's had a rough go of things. I think he'll do great if healthy. Dorrance Armstrong, Bradley, and I, if they keep it up, can be serviceable replacements if Terrell Basham isn't it. But ultimately, man, DeMarcus Lawrence is your clear-cut starter. Just I have a bit of worry when it comes to his ability to stay on the field. I feel like this is the downfall in terms of health. You're looking at potentially the Tyron Smith of the defensive line. Micah Parsons. Let me take a sip of my water real quick. talking for 30 minutes not as easy as it looks or sounds. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Absolutely. It's going to be tough, but considering the impact he's going to make on this defense, seeing how bad it was last year, I think that sways the voters his way. Like I said, going to be tough. You got guys like J.C. Horn, Pat Surtain, maybe not necessarily on his level, but the defensive tackle the Patriots drafted late in the first round, Christian Barmore, I believe was his name, Trayvon Moring in the second round. I think those are guys who are going to make really good impacts, but like I said, not necessarily in that top-tier Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation. However, we've seen, crazier things happen. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf were both second-round receivers, so who knows. Micah Parsons, though, like I said, with how bad the defense was last year, the impact he's going to make is ridiculous. This kid's going to be special. By no means, though, is he perfect, okay? Nobody's perfect in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes had, I think, the highest amount of dropped interceptions last year. Josh Allen, as great as he is, with a rocket arm, did have some accuracy issues. Dak Prescott, our very own, does have some trouble, throwing interceptions from time to time. So no one's perfect, especially as a rookie. There's going to be some growing pains, maybe not as much as Kelvin Joseph and Nashon Wright, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But, we've seen a little bit in the preseason. I believe against Houston, he collided with Keanu Neal. So I think my biggest concern with Micah Parsons is probably his awareness. That will get better, though. He is a rookie. This kid, like I said, is going to be special. He's not perfect, but he's pretty good, and I think good enough by the end of the year to be named the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like I said, though, it is going to be tough because Patrick Surtain is going to be right behind him. So Micah Parsons really got to keep up what we expect from him all throughout the year. Another linebacker, JAYLON Smith. Now, we call this the JAYLON Smith diagnosis. If you want to go get a more in-depth look at JAYLON Smith, my opinion on him, I posted a video a week ago. Go check it out on my channel. To kind of briefly summarize it, though, and I think the main question I'm going to ask here is JAYLON Smith going to be a Dallas Cowboy all throughout the season? The answer to that would be yes. I don't see a team taking a chance on JAYLON Smith until maybe the offseason, at which point the Cowboys would probably need to eat a little bit of his contract. For those of you that thought JAYLON Smith was going to get cut on Tuesday, no. Okay, if the Cowboys cut him, they'd be barely saving anything. The only way for the Cowboys to save money as a result of letting go JAYLON Smith is through a trade. At that point, you save around $7 million. Somewhere around $2.5 million goes into the dead pool, or the dead cap pool. So JAYLON Smith, he's a Dallas Cowboy this year. Next year, that answer might be somewhat different. But as of right now, a fourth linebacker to come in, play special teams, maybe, cover for some guys that got hurt. Maybe they're fatigued. A veteran that can teach guys like Parsons and Jabril Cox the tools of the trade. It doesn't hurt. He led the NFC last year in tackles, second in all of football in that category. When's the last time a team had a guy, a backup, lead his conference in a respective category such as tackles? I can't remember the last time that happened. So having JAYLON Smith as a backup linebacker isn't the worst. Now, the money he's making, that's a problem. But the point I'm trying to make is the Cowboys are keeping him regardless, whether or not you like it. So quit complaining. He's on your team. Alec mentioned in a stream a month ago, you don't want to root for his downfall. You want to root for his success because, you're paying him all this money. He's going to be on your team. Just cross your fingers and hope that he returns to form. He's not. Probably not. I mean, the speed regression is a serious deal, man. You need speed in today's NFL. I don't even think the scheme changeover can save him. His loss of speed has just hurt him significantly. But don't root against JAYLON Smith. I just there's no reason to do it. He's on your team. I don't understand why people do it. Of course, he's bad. We can talk about that, but to root against him, no. Like I said, as a fourth linebacker, as a backup linebacker, one who's going to come in, play special teams, a really good tackler, and a veteran, it doesn't hurt. But ask me next year, JAYLON Smith is probably not on the Cowboys. All right, let's talk about the rookie corners. A lot of you are excited for Kelvin Joseph and Nashon Wright, and I am too. But they are not quite there yet. To answer the question, when will we see them consistently? Probably midway through the year, towards the back end, down the stretch. With Kelvin Joseph, I would have told you a quarter of the way through the year a week ago, but now he's on the injured reserve with a groin injury, so it's going to take him a little longer to get back to where he wants to be. I like Kelvin and Nahshon. I really do. They've got a lot of potential, but I wouldn't throw them into the fire like a lot of you guys would early on, because in the preseason against backups, we've seen some lows. Of course, we've seen some highs, but there have also been some moments where you look at him and you're like, oh, he needs work. Kelvin Joseph is noted as a guy that has football IQ problems, and when I talk about football IQ, I mean, committing stupid penalties. We saw, I believe, on a 3rd and 16 against Arizona he had a holding call. In the same game, he got fooled a lot by, double moves, stutter steps, which is something scouts noted. I love Kelvin Joseph. I think he contributes to the cornerback room quite a bit, just maybe not this year. Look for next year and the year after. If he was as great as you guys make him out to be, which I'm not hating, okay? I would just like to get that out of the way. But if he's as great as some people say, then he'd have gone in the first round. He's not Pat Surtain. He's not J.C. Horn. So like I said, it's going to take some time with Kelvin Joseph. And Nahshon Wright, same deal. I like Nahshon Wright a lot. A very lengthy corner. But like I said, you're not going to start seeing these guys consistently towards the middle and back end of the year because you don't want to toss them into the fire. We saw what the Cowboys did with Trayvon Diggs, and it was a great experience, but Trayvon Diggs, a second-round corner, got essentially told you're going to be cornerback one, guarding guys like DeAndre Hopkins and just amazing receivers across the board, and like DK Metcalf. And he made some plays, but he also gave up some plays. And I just think easing them into that, considering you have some guys like Jordan Lewis, Maurice Kennedy, Diggs, Anthony Brown is probably the smart way about going about managing your rookie corners. Got some comments here in my chat. D Shift, what's up? Appreciate you joining. Your interior is better than it's been in a while. Oh yeah, no doubt, man. Especially with Oso Odighizuwa when Neville Gallimore comes back. He's going to be great. Let me go ahead and flip the scene because I'm not talking about rookie corners anymore. Yeah, for sure. The interior is going to be a lot better. I don't know if it's necessarily if it's super all of a sudden super great. There's still some work to be done. Brent Urban helped bringing him in for just the sole fact of you have physicality up there. That helped a lot for sure. But no doubt it's going to be better than last year. I just don't know if it's necessarily top end yet. There's a lot of young guys there. Oso Odighizuwa was a first rounder. We'll talk about him here in a second. Neville Gallimore, second year guy, showed us a lot of promise towards the end of the year, but a lot to prove. So to say that it's gotten better, yes, I would agree with you there. Absolutely. I'm just a realistic Cowboy fan personally. I'm not 1,000% ready to say that it's going to be prolific in stopping the run because it's going to struggle sometimes. No doubt about that. Couple more questions that I wrote out for myself. What's the one thing I think won't change over from 2020? We obviously know this defense got a lot better, but I think the secondary, specifically the corners, are going to struggle. Jordan Lewis, small. Maurice Kennedy took last year off. Now, if he replicates this camp and preseason success, then he's going to be a problem. But he's got a lot to prove still. Anthony Brown is Anthony Brown. He's not the most reliable guy. And then, like I mentioned, Trayvon Diggs last year made some plays, gave up some plays. He's going to get better, of course, but he's been on the other end of some plays from made by Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb in camp. So I'm not ready to call him a legit corner one yet. So I think, like I said, specifically the corners in the secondary is probably the aspect of this defense that doesn't necessarily change for the better. It will improve, but not, like that become one of the best parts of this defense. I think the linebackers, the defensive line, and the safeties for sure do a lot better than the corners this year. And like I talked about earlier, if the Cowboys want to be a legit threat deep into the playoffs, you got to go out and get a talent like Xavier Howard. You got to go out and get a talent like Stephon Gilmore. It's just, I don't think this cornerback group really becomes a real threat until next year, the year after. At that point, Trayvon Diggs is pretty much completely developed. Same can be said for Kelvin Joseph and Nashon Wright. Maybe you get a guy through free agency or through the draft. But right now, level of concern is pretty high. You're going to see why on Thursday against Tampa Bay. Probably stands out the guys. Camera just flipped back. Let me fix that. But like I was saying, Osa Odigizua, man, I've got him as one of the most surprising rookies for the Cowboys this year. Just considering how bad the run defense was last year. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta adjust this again. I apologize if it was out for a while. Getting back on track though. Odigizua, he's made a lot of noise in the preseason, in training camp. If he plays well the first few weeks of the season, he has a real opportunity to kind of shift that rotation of defensive tackles. I was just kind of talking about that as I was answering questions from my chat. But when Neville Gallimore comes back, you have to expect he's going to be a regular starter. Brent Urban, you can kind of switch in and out. He's more of a run stopper, but Odigizua has both the run stopping and pass rush ability. So I've got him as the most impactful rookie, obviously, other than Micah Parsons, because Micah Parsons is the clear answer there. I could see the case for Jabril Cox, Ejiro Mukwamo if he gets some playing time, and then midway through the year, Kelvin Joseph and Nashon Wright if they surprise us. But to answer the question right now, just considering he's going to be a week 1 starter, I think Osa Odigizua is the clear answer to that question. All right, the big question, are the Cowboys Super Bowl champions in 2022? No. Like I have said multiple times already, in order for that to happen, you got to go out, make a trade. Your defense has to get better. The offense is good. It's great, actually. The best in the NFL, has the potential to be. But you can't win a Super Bowl just off an offense. And you may be asking yourself, or maybe asking me, what about the Chiefs? What about the Buccaneers? They did it. No. Both those teams had really good offenses and solid defense. The Cowboys don't have a solid defense. They have a defense that still has plenty left to prove. You got to go out. You got to get a talent like an Xavier Howard. You got to get a talent like a Stephon Gilmore. You got to better your corners, because with the corners in the state they are right now, going up against Green Bay, going up against Tampa Bay in the playoffs, it's not going to work. Tom Brady is going to pick on our corners all day on Thursday, and that will not change if the Cowboys match up against the Buccaneers 6 months from now. So you got to go out and prove through trade if you want a legitimate chance at even making the Super Bowl. The Cowboys probably win the division, in my opinion. And if they play one of the lower seeds, that's a playoff dub. But once you get towards teams like the Seahawks, like I said, the Bucks, the Packers, if you make it to the Super Bowl somehow, you get to the Chiefs, you get to maybe the Ravens, maybe not the Ravens, but you get to the Chiefs, those types of teams, you're not going to be able to beat them with your defense the way it is. So to ultimately answer the question, provided the hype, I understand, I don't think the Cowboys have it in them to win the Super Bowl with the current roster as is. Asking me this question after they make a trade, asking me this question next year if they do something in free agency or draft a corner somehow really high. Maybe they lose Dak again and they suck again this year. They get a premium corner. I don't know. But as of right now, no. They've got to go out and make a move. All right, that is everything I got for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. On Tuesday, I will have a preview stream with Elliot. Alec may pop in at some point. But for sure, me and Elliot, we're going to be going over the Cowboys Week 1 season opener in Tampa Bay. By the way, I will be at that game, and I apologize for all of you regularly tuned in subscribers. I've been, biting your ear off about how I'm going to be at that game pretty much the past 2 weeks. But you know, I gotta let all the new people know, man. So I'll be at that game. Keep your eyes peeled. Vlog on Friday after the Thursday night game. I'll have a post-game stream with probably Elliot or Alec, if not both, on Saturday. It's going to be fun, man. I'm flying out on Tuesday. Like I said, keep your eyes out for that pregame stream on Tuesday as well sometime in the afternoon. But I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Real quick, I want to check my chat real quick. D-Shift, man, I appreciate you staying in here for this entire time. Bucks did it without a shutdown corner. Going back to that, yeah, I mean, that's fair. Sean Murphy-Bunting wasn't bad. Front seven is more important. Yeah, no doubt. Front seven is more important. I just think with the state the Cowboys corners are in, I don't think it's possible. But you know, you make a couple of really good points for sure. And I do appreciate you hopping in the chat. Shout out to you, man. But that is about everything I got for everyone today. Like I said, if you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Once again, shout out to you, D-Shift, for being in here, and I will see y'all tomorrow.
Monkey.